Today we are doing lesson 13.7, which is writing equations in point-slope form. This is the last lesson in chapter 13. So point-slope form is another type of linear equation. We've already talked about two other forms of equations. We looked at slope-intercept form, which was y equals mx plus b, y is by itself. We've looked at standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. Standard form is where the x and the y are on the same side of the equation. And today we're looking at point-slope form. Point-slope form is a form of an equation where you can look at it and see one point and the slope of the line, just like you can see the y-intercept and slope in a slope-intercept form equation. All right, so here in words it says a linear equation written in the form y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1 is in point-slope form. So I'm just going to circle that formula for you here because that's a really, really important one. Y minus y1 equals m times quantity x minus x1. That's point-slope form. The line passes through the point x1, y1, and the slope of the line is m. So m is still standing for slope like it is in slope-intercept form. And then we're taking the x1 and the y1 number and we're subtracting it. The y stays in the equation, y minus whatever your y1 number is, equals m, whatever your slope is, times x minus whatever your x value is. So you're taking your slope, you're putting it in, you're taking your ordered pair, you're putting it in here. Those minus signs are part of the formula, so they're going to be there. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it for a problem. So for this one, it says write in point-slope form an equation of the line that passes through the point -6, 1 with a slope of 2/3. So here's our formula. We've got y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Well, our slope, that's this part right here, 2/3, that's our slope. So we take our m, and instead of the letter m, we write 2/3 in front of the parentheses. Then we take our ordered pair, and remember the first one is our x. Ooh, I did not do a neat job of writing that. Let me erase it and try again. Hard for me to write on my computer here. Okay, let's try that again. So the first value is x. The second one is y. There we go. So -6 is our x. We're going to put it in here, but instead of writing minus -6, we did boom, boom, and we made it a +6. We're subtracting -6. It's like adding a +6. And then for our y value, that was 1. We took it and we put it in here. And again, the minus is part of the formula. So really, when we write these in point-slope form, our sign in front of the number is actually opposite of the sign in the ordered pair. And that's because the formula asks you to subtract those values, and subtract is like adding the opposite. So this was a +1, we're writing -1. This was a -6, we're writing +6. All right, so here are 3 more equations to try. So go ahead and pause the video and try doing these 3 problems. I'm going to go ahead actually before you pause, and I'm going to write the formula for you on here just so you can see it. So y minus whatever your y1 value is equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Okay, now go ahead, pause the video, try these 3 problems. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our answers. So for number 1, our equation should be y minus 2 equals -4 times the quantity x minus 1. We have our x first, our y second. You have to make sure that when you're writing them in the equation, the sign in the equation is opposite of the sign here. These are both positive, so they're written as minus. Y minus 2, that's our y number, equals -4, that's our slope, x minus our x number, which is 1. All right, and this next one, you could actually write it a couple different ways. Because we have this y value as 0, we actually don't even really need to put it into the equation. If we did, it would look like this. Y minus 0 equals 1 times the quantity x minus 7. But it does end up being the same thing as y equals x minus 7, because y minus 0 is the same thing as y. And 1 times x minus 7 equals x minus 7. So that one, because of the 0 and the 1, you could write it either way. And then number 3, we have negative x, negative 5. Those are both negative, so in the equation we write them with plus signs in front of them. And our slope is negative 3/4. So our equation is y plus 5 equals negative 3/4 times the quantity x plus 8. All right, so the next type of problem, instead of telling you a point and the slope, they're going to tell you 2 points and ask for a point slope form. So for these ones, your first step is to find the slope. Then we're going to put it into point slope form. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, the directions don't say write point slope form, they say write slope intercept form. So let's actually read the directions together before we look at the steps. So write in slope intercept form an equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 4, and 5, negative 2. So this is going back to slope intercept form. That's that y equals mx plus b that we looked at earlier in the chapter. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we talked in our last lesson about how to do that if you see it on a graph, which you could. You could graph these points and use it to set up slope-intercept form. We looked at how to do it if you have the same x number, or you have the same y number. But this is another strategy. If you don't want to have to make the graph, since they didn't say to make a graph, and you don't have x's or y's in common, here's how you write that slope-intercept form equation. So the first step is to find the slope. So you need to subtract. Remember, y's go on the top, x goes on the bottom. I chose this point, the 5, negative 2, to go first. So negative 2 on the top over 5 minus a positive 4. And I did boom, boom, so it's like negative 4 over the 2. So 2 minus 4, or 2 plus negative 4, that gives me negative 6. 5 minus 2, that gives me 3. Negative 6 over 3 simplifies to negative 2 there. That's my slope. Then you can pick either point. So I'm just going to add a little label here. My slope is negative 2. I use subtraction with the slope formula to figure that out. Slope is negative 2. And then I put it into my point slope form equation. Y minus 4, I chose this point. I could have chosen the other. It doesn't really matter. I'll get to the same place at the end. And then equals negative 2 from my slope times the quantity x minus 2 from this ordered pair. So we found the slope using our slope formula. We took the slope and one of the 2 points and we put it into the equation. Y minus 4 equals negative 2 times the quantity x minus 2. Now that I have my point slope form equation, I need to solve it to be slope intercept form. Remember, slope intercept form looks like this up here. Y equals mx plus b. To be slope intercept form, the y has to be by itself. So we simplify and then do order of operations backwards to isolate the y. We've done equations like these before. We just haven't used the words slope intercept form and point slope form before. All right, so our equation, same one from up here. Y minus 4 equals negative 2 times the quantity x minus 2. We have to get rid of the parentheses before we can start moving things from one side to another. So we do distributive property. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Then I have to get rid of whatever's on the side with the y. On this one, it's the minus 4, and we get rid of it by adding 4. So negative 4 plus positive 4, that equals 0. I'm left with y. And then on this side, negative 2x, I don't have like terms for that. It's still negative 2x. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. So my slope-intercept form equation is y equals negative 2x plus 8. Even if I picked the point 5, negative 2 over here for my point slope form equation, I would end up getting the same slope-intercept form equation. Okay, I'm going to talk you through the process for one more problem before I have you try number 5 and number 6 on your own, because there are a lot of steps here. So our first step is to calculate the slope. That's the first slope. Okay, so my work here, I'm just adding in that label of m for our slope. We subtracted here, use the slope formula. So y2 minus y1, negative 4 minus 1 equals negative 5. That's the top because it's always rise over 1. Then I did the bottom. 3 minus negative 2. Boom, boom. 3 plus positive 2 equals 5. Negative 5 over 5 equals negative 1. So my slope is negative 1. And then I picked the first ordered pair. You certainly could have picked a different ordered pair. I chose the first one. And I put it into my point slope equation. So y minus my y1 value, 1, equals my slope, negative 1, times the quantity x minus my x value, which is negative 2. And minus a negative 2 is like boom, boom, plus positive 2. Our signs in our formula are the opposite of the signs in the ordered pair. So now that I have the equation y minus 1 equals negative 1 times the quantity x plus 2, I'm going to do distributive property to get rid of the parentheses. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So now I have y minus 1 equals negative x minus 2. Then we have to get y by itself. This was a minus 1, so we add 1. Negative 2 plus positive 1 is negative 1. So my final equation in slope-intercept form is y equals negative x minus 1. Find the slope, pick a point and write it in point-slope form, distributive property, and get rid of the value by y to make it slope-intercept form. Now go ahead and pause the video and try number 5 and number 6 on your own. Okay, so let's check your answers. For number 5, you needed to find the slope. So your slope is 4. That's your first step. Now on both of these, I chose the first ordered pair to do my equation. You could have chosen the second one. You should get the same answer at the end. So for my minus 5, I'm putting the opposite signs into the formula. They're going to be plus 5s here. So y plus 5 equals 4, which was my slope, times the quantity x plus 5. Distributive property, 4 times x, 4x. 4 times 5, 20. So I have y plus 5 equals 4x plus 20. And then y has to be by itself, so to get rid of that plus 5, we subtract 5. Those cross cancel. That gives us y equals, and then when I subtract over here, I still have 4x, and then 20 minus 5 is 15, so I have y equals 4x plus 15. All right, let's take a look at the last problem here. So again, slope formula, I subtracted my y's and x's to get my slope, which is 1/2. 9 minus 6 equals 3. Negative 2 minus negative 8, boom, boom, becomes negative 2 plus 8, which is 6. 3 over 6 equals 1/2. Yes, we do want slope in simplest form, just like in our other times we've done slope. Then I put it into my equation. I chose the first ordered pair to go into my equation. I could have chosen the second one. It wouldn't matter in the end. So I have y minus my y value, 6, equals x, my slope, 1/2, times the quantity x minus my x value, minus negative 8 is the same thing as plus 8. Then I do distributive to get rid of the parentheses. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times 8 is 4. And then the final step is to add 6 to both sides because there's a minus 6 by this y. And for slope-intercept form, we have to get rid of it. So negative 6 plus 6 is 0, leaves me with y. 4 plus 6 equals 10. So my slope-intercept form equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 10. All right, our final type of question here is a story problem situation that has a graph. It says you finish parasailing and are being bowled back to the boat at a rate of 10 feet per second. That is our slope right there, that 10 feet per second. After 2 seconds, you are 25 feet above the boat. That's like 225 as an ordered pair. And I know that 2 is my x value because anytime that you have time as one of your variables, that time is always going to be your x. So 2 seconds, 2, and then 25 feet above. And then here it says, write and graph an equation that represents your height in feet above the boat after x seconds. So even if you weren't sure which one the seconds would be, x or y, it tells you here in A that they want you to have seconds be or x. So we know our slope is 10. We know that our graph, our ordered point from our story problem is 225. So y minus the y value, 25, equals our slope, negative 10. And it is a negative because we're going down. We're not getting pulled up. We're getting pulled back. This fact that we're getting pulled back tells us that this is a negative 10 when we put it into our equation. And then x minus 2, because x is our 2 is our x value. So that's my equation. Now I could write it in slope-intercept form, but I wrote it in point-slope form since they give me a point and slope. Then I need to graph it. So I graph the information that I have here. So I graph that point, 225, and I graph a slope of negative 10. So at 225, I'm going to just scroll here a little bit. You can see 225 would be right here. Negative 10 means going down 10 and over 1. So that would be like 315. Down 10 over 1 would be like 4, 5. And I could work backwards to figure out where my y-intercept is. And the reason why I need to do that is because part B says, at what height were you parasailing? That is going to be 45. That's where my line hit the y-axis. I could have also substituted 0 for x and solved that for y, and that would have also given me the same answer. Remember, when you're writing a graph for a story problem situation, we need a title for our whole graph. On this one, it was parasailing height, with a label on the y-axis. For this one, it was feet, and a label on the x-axis. For this one, it was seconds. So for our last problem here, number 7, you're going to pause the video and try this one on your own. Go ahead and take a minute to do the problem. All right, let's check our answers. So here we have 35 feet above the boat after 2 seconds. Write and graph an equation that represents your height, y, and feet above the boat after x seconds. All right, so here's my work. So my slope is still negative 10. It's the same situation as the last one. And my new ordered pair from this information, 35, that's how far above I am. That's my y. And 2 seconds is my x. That's like having the point, let's see, I'll write it down here. It's like having the point 235 with the same slope of negative 10 as is in my last problem. All right, so once I put that in point slope form, I have y minus 35, that's my y value, equals negative 10, my slope, times the quantity x minus 2, because 2 is my x value. Then my graph is going to look very similar to my last one. So label on the top, parasailing height. Label on my y-axis is feet. Label on my x-axis is seconds. I start with the point that I had, 235, so over 2, up 35. And then I need to use my slope to get at least one more point. So down 10 over 1 would take me to 325 as my second ordered pair. And then I can connect those just to make a line and extend it through the graph space. All right, so for our closure problem here, exit ticket, it says write an equation of the line with a slope of 2 that passes through the point -1 for in point slope form and slope intercept form. So go ahead and pause the video and try this last problem. Okay, let's check your answer. So for point slope form, that's this first one here. Y minus 4 equals 2, our slope, times the quantity x plus 1. Remember, the sign in the ordered pair is the opposite of the sign in the point. So -1 becomes a +1, +4 becomes a -4 in our formula. Then we do distributive property to get rid of the parentheses. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 1 is 2. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So -4 plus 4, we get y equals 2x plus 6 as our slope intercept form equation.